What's going on, everybody? This is Dave from Talking Wolves. Welcome back to another opposition preview today. I'm joined with Freddy from the Ugly Inside, a Southampton fan. Freddy, thanks for tuning in and thanks for joining us today on this video.
Glad to be here, mate. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem, no problem. As usual, guys, with the opposition preview, we're going to be talking about a little bit about Wolves, a little bit of Southampton. Obviously, looking at the build-up for the game on Saturday at the Molineux. Freddy, obviously, as a Southampton fan, I'm sure you've seen plenty of games this season under obviously still Mark Hughes at the moment. But talking about Wolves quickly, obviously Wolves have had an okay start, first season back in the Premier League. As a sort of outsider, how do you think Wolves have kicked off this season so far?
I think it's been a solid start for Wolves. Perhaps over expectations already, but before the Premier League even started this season, I comfortably said Wolves will be quite easily top half, and at the moment, Nuno's doing everything to go with that. I think Wolves, great starts. You got some good players brought in the summer as well, some European Championship winners and some dangerous players.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think, as you say, a good start for Wolves. Already some pundits may be saying European push and so on, which we do have to be careful with. But yeah, it's a good start. But Southampton-wise, obviously, still under Mark Hughes, as I say, came very close to maybe going down last season, but you've managed to, obviously stay up. How do you rate your start so far this season?
A little underwhelming, to be honest, mate. 6 games played, 5 points. Perhaps not what expectations have been met. But to be honest, Saints have been notoriously slow starters.
Yeah.
For the past sort of 20, 30 years. I was reading just a story in Matt Letizier's book earlier, and he said a story about I think it's about 20 years ago. They didn't even win a single game in the first 10, but they still managed to stay up that season. So all is not lost if we're looking historically, but a little underwhelmed with the results. We had a couple of favourable ties at home, teams at home that we really should be getting 3 points against, and it's just been bitter pills to swallow recently, especially the Brighton game. Kind of humiliated once again at Liverpool, but it's the same bad habits we're stuck in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quickly looking at your sort of fixtures now. Burnley game sort of to kick off the season. You probably, especially at home, you probably were hoping for something a little bit more there. I mean, the games you've lost, Everton, obviously Liverpool, as you've said. You dropped points at Brighton, as you mentioned there. I think that was a difficult one for you guys. But I mean, you're beating Palace, who on paper at times are a very difficult side to play against, away from home as well. But as a fan, I mean, at the time of Mark Hughes' appointment, I'm sure there was a little. Well, I'm not too sure, obviously, as I'm not a Southampton fan, but was there a little bit of disappointment at his appointment at the time, or do you think most fans are actually sort of backing it?
Yeah, it was met with a bit of scepticism, but I think if you had looked at the candidates at the time, he was probably the best man for the job. And at the time, we really couldn't afford to gamble any further. The previous 4 appointments since we come back up to the Prem, unproven managers. We've had Pochettino, Koeman. They paid off, brilliant managers. But the previous 2 in Puel and Pellegrino really got a bit of a tough time, to be honest. On paper, 8th place in the league and a cup final, people craving for that, but just wasn't good enough for Saints. You want to see attacking football, a brand of football that we haven't really seen since Koeman left, and Pellegrino he was awful. Honestly, he was worse than Puel, and I think the board really just had enough. And Pellegrino looked a bit clueless at times and didn't know what to do at the right time, didn't know the right substitutions, the right tactics, but. As it is with a lot of managers, there is still an adjusting period. But I think Mark Hughes came in at the right time, done exactly what he needed to do to galvanise the squad and really turn the ship around and keep us up.
So what's the sort of stance on him at the moment now? Is he still doing a sort of the adequate job for Saints, or do you reckon he's got a bit of pressure on him already?
So I think, keyword adequate is probably a right summary for Mark Hughes. But on paper, look, Mark Hughes is a proven manager, but he's part of the old boys club that never really win anything, but always know how to stay up in the Premier League. Part of Pulis, Sam Allardyce, Pardew, the rest, Steve Bruce.
Yeah.
So, on paper, Mark Hughes looks like a safe choice. But if you look at his recent record with Stoke, there was reports suggesting discontent, players doing what they want. But there seems to be a bit more discipline with Mark Hughes this time round at Southampton, and the players are kind of believing into it. But I think it's also that we've got a few new signings in the summer. They need time to adjust to the league too. But a little underwhelming so far this season.
So do you think, sort of for Southampton now, obviously we've seen you in the past, flirting with that sort of top half of the table. What do you think the next step is for Southampton? Do you think Mark Hughes can take you there? Well, because your signings in recent years have been good. Obviously, you've sold a number on to Liverpool and obviously other clubs. But what's the next step for Southampton, do you think? Do you think they do need a better manager long term, or do you think sort of stability is the key there?
This is the $1 million question, Dave. Yeah. The board was asked this in the recent fans forum. They were asked about the 5-year plan. So we exceeded the 5-year plan when we came up to Prem ahead of. Yeah. I think what it is, it's a time for stability for Saints. We couldn't afford any longer to kind of flirt a relegation. Mark Hughes would be the man to hopefully stabilise that ship. Yeah. But as it is with a lot of fans really across the country, we crave success. We crave kind of attacking football. We look at the football now, we sort of go, oh, that's how we used to play. Why can't we play like that anymore? So, fans are really starting to get on the back. But what it is, I think at the moment, the home fans especially are a bit of a sort of an albatross, sort of a pressure on the back of the players, especially playing at home, because, in the 90s, we used to have siege mentality, always getting behind the team. We didn't have the greatest team, but we always seemed to stayed up with our fan base. The recent few years, because it's been so successful in exceeding that plan, exceeding expectations, people want to have that success every single year. And at the moment, we're nowhere near actually replicating that success we had under Koeman and Pochettino.
Well, yeah, as you say, with a lot of board. I think the fans sort of parliament, the fact that obviously the fans and board thing is such a good way for obviously the fans to speak with the club and so on. And as you say, it is a bit of $1 million question for the board to answer. But for obviously looking forward to Saturday now, out of the sort of the Saints sort of squad or starting lineup that you'd imagine would play, who are the key players for you? The Southampton's best players that Wolves should look out for, really.
So this season, Nathan Redmond's been a bit of a revelation. He had so much pressure, so much stick over the last 2 seasons, but he's come back a new sort of player this year. Apparently, he went away to America in his fitness camp to get himself into shape ahead of his teammates. And Nathan Redmond looks like he's playing without pressure, playing without fear this season, running at defenders, getting behind the line, and really kind of being that playmaker, perhaps the threat that now, since Dusan Tadic left us in the summer, he's trying to step up to be that threat in the final third. As for elsewhere, Danny Ings has been brilliant since he's signed for us. A romantic deal, if you like, coming back to his hometown, playing for his home team. He loves the city. He grew up here. And he's loving every single minute playing for Saints. And he scored 3 goals, and we're loving it so far. So Danny Ings, he'll be raring to go once again. He missed out last weekend because he was ineligible to play against his parent club. But he'll be raring to go at the Molineux on Saturday.
Yeah, Wolves so far this season have been pretty solid defensively, but we've struggled to sort of score goals. I think it's 6 goals scored, 6 goals conceded. But Danny Ings, Redmond, they're going to have to be on top form if they're going to obviously create any goals. But Redmond is always sort of, I know, as you said, the last couple of years he struggled a little bit, but there's always been something with Nathan Redmond, a little bit of quality there, I think. And I'm sort of glad, obviously, as an outsider, that he's getting going so far this season. But score prediction from you, Freddy, have you got anything in mind? Do you reckon Saints are going to go to Molineux and grab a win? Or do you reckon, or what do you think?
I think it's going to be a tough game. Wolves are looking fairly solid this season. I think if we take a draw, I'll be fairly satisfied with that. But it's the manner in our performance. We went to Liverpool last weekend with a defeatist attitude, playing 4-5-1 with a striker that's scored 2 goals in 61 appearances for club and country, right? So, from the first whistle that we were just trying to be damage limitation. And the fact that Mark Hughes said that in his interview after the match, we kept a clean sheet in the second half. That's any positive we could take. But I want to see us go for it, express ourselves at the Molineux, actually take the game to Wolves, because ultimately what it is, top 6 versus the rest. And the best of the rest and we want to look at those teams such as Wolves, such as Fulham, Cardiff, all the promoted teams, all the teams around us. We want to take points from them. So if we take a point, good. I'll be satisfied with that. But if we take 3, delighted, over the moon.
Yeah, I think as you say, anyone outside the top 6, probably anyone can beat anyone on the day. Well, the whole of the Premier League, in fact. But yeah, Burnley came to the Molineux, defended, and we should have scored 3 or 4 goals. But as I say, teams that have actually come, Leicester even in the cup when we played them Tuesday evening, put pressure on Wolves and made it really, really difficult. So if Southampton do come and do that, I think it'll be a really enjoyable game. I'll give you the floor now if you want to obviously let Wolves fans or anyone watching this video know about your channel and what you guys do anyway.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Dave. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, The Ugly Inside. If you want to listen to us, if you want to hear our podcast, it's available to download on most audio platforms now, so just search for us now for The Ugly Inside.
Perfect, and I'll make sure I leave links to those in the description. But Freddie, thanks for coming on. Wolves fans, or as I say, Southampton fans, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the links are in the description down below. And in the comment section, leave us your predictions for the game and how you think it's going to go. But until next time, it's been Dave from Talking Wolves, and I'll see you all very soon.